Now that we all have our string bow, I would like to talk about the 11 steps to actually shooting the bow. And we're going to go through those 11 steps using the string bow that you've just made in class. So the first thing we need to do is, again, open your sling between the two knots, and slide your wrist through there, and hook that first part of the top string off the knot over your thumb, and relax. The first thing I do then is I make sure my feet are shoulder width apart. Many coaches and instructors may teach a squared stance, which is straight across the toes to the target. In NASP, we do prefer to teach a slightly open stance. Okay, class, first thing I want to instruct in the 11 steps is step number 1, which is stance. When shooting archery in NASP, the shooting line will remain between your feet at all times. And to align proper stance, we ask that you follow these step-by-step directions. First, with both feet on the side of the shooting line, away from the targets, you'll notice the sheet of paper I have is indicating that the targets are downrange in that direction. So with both feet behind the shooting line, you will take your foot that is now closest to the shooting line, in this case my left foot, slide it halfway back the distance of my back foot, open your stance to shoulder width apart, and then turn your toe to a 45-degree angle. This would be the proper stance for NASP archery, which again is step number 1 in the 11 steps. Step 2 is probably one of the most, in my opinion, the step that needs to be done with the most caution. And that will be putting the arrow on the string, and we call that knock. When you knock the arrow onto the string, you will have an archer in front of you and an archer behind you, so you have to do this step very carefully. When we do it with a string bow, we don't have arrows, so we're just going to pretend. But your hand motion will be done exactly like this. With the hand that you'll be shooting with, in this case my right hand, I'm going to turn my thumb upside down. The arrows will be in a tube called a floor quiver right in front of me, down on the shooting line between my feet. I will bend down and grab an arrow right below the fletching or the feathers of the arrow, with my thumb down on the shaft. When I pull the arrow out of the tube, as soon as I see the tip of the arrow come out of the tube, I'm going to turn the arrow so it's pointing directly to the target. My bow will be in front of me, and I need to get the arrow between the bow and myself. To do that, I will lift the arrow up over top of the bow and bring it down between my body and the bow, keeping the tip of the arrow pointing at the target at all times. Once it is there, I can rotate it between my fingers and my thumb and find the odd feather, make sure the odd feather faces me, snap it under the knock locator on the string, which I will show you when we get to the range, and you push it back on the string until it clicks. So it will look something like this. Thumb down, out of the tube, to the target, up and over, back on the string. So for today's purposes, when we do the 11 steps, when I say knock, you'll just take your thumb, point it in the direction you plan on shooting, bring it up and over an imaginary bow, back on the string. That will be our step 2, knock. Once you've knocked, you are going to go in to draw hand set. Okay? So draw hand set, you're going to, again, take your 3 fingers, the archer's groove, and line them up on the opposite end of your loop string. I like to hold it there with my thumb until I get to full draw. That will be my draw hand set, making sure my 3 fingers are on the string in the archer's groove. Okay? Once I have that, my bow hand set, I'm going to take that knot, hold it in the palm of my hand with my middle finger, and I should be able to pull it out and make sure it's going to be coming through the lifeline of my hand. This bottom loop of the string should come, let me get rid of this loop for a second. This bottom loop should come right out of the bottom of my wrist like that, right out of the bottom of my lifeline. Okay? So when done properly, holding it there, it'll come out, it's this bottom string, when I pull it tight, it'll come out right where I've drawn that line on my wrist, in the center of my wrist, so I can set my wrist at a 45-degree angle. Okay? So it's going to look something like this so far. Step 1 was stance. Step 2 was knock. Step 3 is draw hand set. Step 4 is bow hand set. And I'm just like this. Once I have the string in the proper position, I will go to pre-draw. That's where my left hand goes fully extended to the target and my right hand goes along for a ride. Pre-draw. I will then draw and anchor into the corner of my mouth. So I just went through 3 steps pretty quick. Okay, so let me go through them again. Stance, step 1. Knock, step 2. Draw hand set, step 3. Bow hand set, step 4. Pre-draw is step 5. Draw is step 6. And anchor, putting that finger in the corner of my mouth, is step 7. Once you have those steps down, we get into aim. These bows do not have sights, so all I tell my archers to do is look at the tip of the arrow and put it in the center of the target. It will not matter where that arrow hits on the target bail, just make sure you're putting the tip of the arrow in the center of that target, and then we can go ahead and execute the shot. So you're staring at the tip of the arrow, you're using that to aim with, put it in the center of the target. Once you have aimed, you're going to go into step 9, which is shot setup. It's probably the most confusing and most difficult step to teach as an archery instructor. But shot setup is where you're going to pull through the shot. You're going to pull through the shot. You're going to basically take your back, in this case, since I'm shooting right-handed, my right shoulder blade, the scapula, and I'm going to pull the scapula toward my spine. That's pulling through the shot. When I execute the shot setup, when I start to rotate that scapula to my shoulder blade in step 9, I will go directly into step 10, which is release. When I release the string, all I'm going to do is let the back of my hand relax. The back of my hand of my draw hand will relax and the string will slide out of my fingers. It should almost surprise me. Okay? So shot setup, I start to squeeze off the shot, rotate the shoulder blade to my spine, the back of my hand will relax, my fingers will extend, and the string will slide out, and the arrow will be released. Once I've released the arrow, I want to make sure I keep my bow arm up, pointing to the target until it has hit the target. The arrow has hit the target. Once the arrow has hit the target, I will then relax. Leaving that arm up there is the part of the 11th step. That's following through the shot. Keep the arm strong to the target after the release. Follow through by leaving that arm up. Once it's hit the target, you can relax that arm and go through the last part of step 11, which is just a reflection or a review of the shot. Did it feel good? Did everything work the way it should have worked? Okay? One little tip. When you go into shot setup, that's step 9, and you're rotating that scapula or your shoulder blade back towards the spine, and you're trying to let your hand relax, you should almost feel like these fingertips are dragging across your face. Okay, we've talked about it in some of my other archery classes where if you were to take your fingers and dip them in a can of paint, and you anchored properly, and you're doing shot setup properly, and you slowly start your hand to release, your hand would almost drag across your cheek, you would leave 3 stripes of paint right across your cheek, and your thumb should end up over your right shoulder, again, if you are right-handed. So I'd like to go through the 11 steps a couple times with the string bow so you can see it, and then I'm going to have you start to do it, and I'll come around and make some corrections. So step 1, stance. Step 2, knock. Step 3, archer's groove. End of the loop. Draw hand set. Step 4, knock, palm of my hand on the lifeline. Bow hand set. Step 5, pre-draw. Step 6, draw. 7, anchor. 8, aim. 9, shot setup. 10, back of the hand goes dead and release. Fingers across my cheek, thumb over my shoulder. Step 11, follow through. Hits the target, relax, and reflect. How did the shot feel? I'm going to do it again without explaining the steps. I will just say the step name and show you what it should look like. Stance, knock, draw hand set, bow hand set, pre-draw, draw, anchor, aim, shot setup, release, follow through, and reflect. Those are the 11 steps. I'm going to walk around while you practice the 11 steps. I'll put them on the board. You can say them in your head, go through the steps and make sure you're doing it properly. I'll come around and make sure everyone's doing it correctly. Excellent job today, class. I'm very proud of you. You guys took it seriously. You weren't screwing around with the strings. Here's your homework. Your homework for today will be to take that string bow home. I'm going to give you a handout that has the 11 steps on it. I want you to go home tonight and practice those 11 steps with your string bow. Show your parents, show your siblings what you're doing with the string bow. Pretend you're shooting at something at home with the string bow. Your homework will be to bring that string bow back tomorrow. If you bring your string bow back tomorrow, when we go to the aux gym, you will be able to shoot a real bow with real arrows into our targets in the aux gym. But you'll have to have the string bow, because when you're not shooting on the line, I'll have you be practicing with your string bow behind the weight line, waiting your turn. So you must have your string bow with you if you plan to shoot tomorrow. It'll be the exact same steps. I'll do a quick demonstration tomorrow. We'll explain the whistle commands, because everything in archery will be run with a whistle command to make sure we're doing everything safely. But tomorrow, it'll be a great day, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.